nephlometer. Nephlometer in case of optical, in the case of optical properties of colloidal dispersions. So in the nephlometer, what we can measure means we can measure the intensity of scattered light at 90 degrees. See, this is the incident lights. These are the incident light. These are the scattered light. I am observing from here. See, my eyes are here. Means at 90 degrees. At 90 degrees to the incident light. See, at 90 degrees to the incident light, I am observing the scattered light. So at the same time, I am measuring the intensity of scattered light. How much intensity of scattered light from this lyophilic particle. See, this is lyophilic particle surrounded by the solvent film. Surrounded by the solvent film. So how much amount of scattered light is there? I am observing at 90 degrees to the incident light. So these are lyophilic particles surrounded by the solvent film. These are the incident light, and the scattered light is low, means less amount of light is scattered in case of lyophilic particle, and more amount of transmitted light is there in case of lyophilic particle. See, due to the presence of this, the more amount of light is transmitted through this. So it's very difficult to quantify the more amount of transmitted light in case of lyophilic particle. Hence, we are just measuring the scattered light. The scattered light is low, means less amount of light is scattered in case of lyophilic particles. So it's very easy to measure in case of lyophilic particle. So whenever the scattered light is less amount, then we can easily measure the scattered light. But high amount of transmitted light is there, so it's very difficult to measure. That's why we are measuring the scattered light in case of lyophilic particle at 90 degrees. At 90 degrees. In case of nephlometer, this is solvent film. So application is to measure the number of particles present in lyophilic particle. To measure the number of particles in lyophilic colloidal dispersion. So number of particles, nothing but the concentration of colloids, means lyophilic colloids present in lyophilic colloidal dispersion. This is the major application of nephlometer. See, nephlometer is majorly used to measure the concentration, means number of particles of lyophilic colloid. But turbidometry or spectrophotometer is majorly used to measure the lyophobic particles. This is majorly for lyophilic particles or lyophilic colloidal dispersions. That is, lyophobic particles for turbidity is majorly for lyophobic particles. So we are measuring the number of particles, okay, and the size of the particles also. Number of particles in the colloidal dispersion and size of lyophilic colloid. The size of lyophilic colloid. This is the big size, this is the small size particle. This is the big size particle. See, large particle, this is small particle. We are using the number of particle as well as the size of lyophilic colloid. See, this is the big size, this is small size. How can we measure the size of particle? How can we measure the size of particle in case of nephlometer? Means, see, this is the large particle having small angle. See, this is the angle theta, means angle between the two transmitted light or two scattered light. Two scattered light, the angle is present between the two scattered light. You can call it theta. This is small angle. See, this is small angle. Small angle is there. So more amount of light is scattered. So more intensity. So more intensity is there. That's why we can observe like this broad spectrum. In case of nephlometer, broad spectrum is due to the presence of more intensity of light. This more intensity due to the presence of large particles. Okay, the large particle having small angle but more intensity. See, intensity of light 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. More intensity 5. More intensity of light is there. And broad spectrum we can observe in nephlometer. When you consider the small particle, this is the incident light. There is a large angle. See, the angle is large. Large angle is there between the two scattered light. Their intensity, see, just two lights are scattered, less intensity. So we can see, we can observe in nephlometer as a sharp peaks like this. Sharp peaks we can observe in case of nephlometer. The broad peaks due to the more intensity produced by the large particles, and smaller sharp peaks due to the less intensity produced by the small particles. This is the major difference. What is the large particle? How can we measure the large particle? How can we measure the small particle? And the number of particles and the number of particles in lyophilic colloidal dispersion and size of lyophilic colloid also can be determined by using nephlometer, measuring the angle at 90 degrees. At 90 degrees to the incident light. This is the incident light. Angle is at 90 degrees. This is a major principal application of nephlometer.